This is the biggest city I've ever seen in City Skylines 2. It was built by this creator. Let's take an in-depth look at it. But first, let's talk about how this city was created. It took about 45 days of active play to zone each million, and the creator talks about running the game for 20 hours a day in winter, putting the computer in a poorly isolated corner to help with heating for his room. I guess for that City Skylines 2 works perfectly fine, and the way he plays is actually paused the same way we are looking at the city right now, because doing and moving anything while the city is running basically reduces your FPS to like 5. I myself am looking at this on a rig with a 4080 and still I can't properly run the city lag free. What I find most amazing is you can play this city without any mods, and the budget is also on, but disasters are disabled. Taking a look at the city in the game view, there are a bunch of indicators, but most of them are just not enough customers. So overall it looks surprisingly great. The city is located around a big river, and that allows for dams, just as this one. It actually generates 1500 megawatts, which is a lot, but this city also needs it, consuming 4000 megawatts. So this power plant is already almost a third of the electricity need. Then there are tons of wind turbines right up here in the mountains, as well as on the mountains on the other side all the way over here. So these generate a ton of electricity very, very cheap. And then there are some additional power plants sprinkled across the city, mainly from trash, so incarceration plants. Actually only incarceration plants. I just flew around the entire city. There are only wind turbines and dams, and then incarceration plants. And that leads to a total export of electricity of 400 megawatts. I think one could even export more, but there aren't enough outside connections for it so far. Taking a look at public transportation, this view looks very crazy, and with a total of 114 lines, this is surely crazy complex. The creator also reports that public transit has been one of the biggest challenges in the city, mostly because of citizens not really using subway enough, even though there are a lot of subway lines. Also, the cargo train terminal seems to be really popular. Well, technically there's way more than one, but at least this one. And the city is also facing problems with trains just getting stuck and then just staying here. This is something I also noticed on way smaller cities. Taking a look at police, a total of 0 people are arrested in the city. I guess this is not due to the many police stations available, but just because of the game missing that feature. Education is balanced insanely well. And it's just so hard to take a look at anything because there's just so much of each of these things. And everywhere you look, there are just these giant education campuses. Also over here with tons of schools, elementary school, universities, and many more. And then even all of these things look pretty good. The streets even having noise walls. So it really shows how much time this city took. Oh, and here's a nighttime shot of the city. Pretty nice, but sadly at some point the houses just don't render lights. But this looks really great. For now, let's move along the river and see what interesting things we can find. On one end of this river, it starts with this very amazing harbor, mostly for cargo. We have one right here, connected up very well to the highway. And these stations are also really busy. And you even built some nice industry area with quay walls. This was surely a lot of pain, but what a nice view this is. The other harbor is well connected with the train lines, going outside the city as well as distributing inside the city, carrying all the cargo around. Moving further in, this beautiful island caught my attention. It's just connected via a bridge or 2 bridges. Very nice to see, and quite realistic that in a city this dense, houses would be built on this island. These would probably be really expensive properties. And you can see these people here at the shops. And there's even a small statue here, or a small park with, well, floating stuff, but you can surely excuse that in a city this large. But it's also something I've never seen in a city. Next up, we have a ferry harbor, very close to this major tourist attraction up here. Quite empty parking lots, but a nice area as well. Moving further along the river, we find these bridges, even just pedestrian bridges. We cross them. Then there are even more train lines and this major highway up here cutting through the entirety of the city. We always have these legs, as you just saw. They cut right through here. And then it's just so many bridges and so many roads with especially surprisingly nice traffic, even some nice interchanges. And then we come to find this massive open area. For one, we have stops here. I think these are underground stops. Then there are all the train terminals that allow for the undergrounds and the subways and the trains to spawn in. And then there's even agriculture. So it's not just spammed fully with high rises, but there's even some core of the city farmers, very nice, and it just creates so much personality for the city. Of course, a highway cuts through here because why not, but it is very, very nice variety. Moving further, we find this amazing bridge right here spanning over the river, and then a very nice seafront area with like luxury houses here. So the rich and probably also the politicians live here with an amazing view of downtown. What a nice view this is. You can get right here from your living room. Oh, and also behind them, it's not crazy dense city, but some greenery, some grass, and even some monuments and statues around. So this here is definitely the place to be. Next up, at this intersection of rivers, we find this amazingly well-placed building. I think it's a hospital. It fits very nice in this special plot. And again, all these special buildings really stand out. We have here this medical clinic, then there's a monument here, and the airport opening up another massive area. Very great city design, and I'm always just amazed at all these amazing intersections that just carve like a snake through the city. Next, behind the airport, we find another very, very beautiful farming situation. And first I thought, what kind of special building is this? Because it fits in so well with the farm, but it is actually the geothermal power plant. I never realized how close this looks to like a dairy house or something. It fits in here really, really well. What a nice idea. And there's just a plane going straight up. Oh well. Of course, apart from these things we just looked at, there are so many nice and interesting things in the city, like this large hadron collider, just chilling out here in the mountains, overlooking the city. This beautiful detailed quarry, where trucks are even driving down to pick up the stones. This pretty cool looking bridge overpassing the mountain. And of course, always this amazing view. For good measure, I'll just zoom in randomly and see what I find there. We landed here, a very nice area. Even some old small houses here next to the playground. Very nice and very interesting indeed. I mean, we have these higher density buildings right next to low and medium density. It looks very natural, like it was an old neighborhood. Things got bought up and then higher density was built, but some people refused to sell. Very nice, and I really love all the trees here in combination with the parks. Of course, some nicer colors on these row housings would be nice, but that's something that Paradox needs to fix. But this is a really, really nice neighborhood, and this is just one I zoomed in randomly. Let me know if you want me to explore the city even further. What is your largest city that you ever built? What is the highest population you ever reached? Let me know in the comments. And with that, happy gaming.